everyone, welcome back to Getaway Girls TV. My name's Rihanna and today we have Aziza with us. We also have a special guest with us, Kadish Morris. She is the commissioning editor of The Observer. She's also a writer and a poet, and even better, she's from Leeds. So thank you for joining us today, Kadish.
Oh, no problem. More than happy to.
Lovely. So to start off, would everybody like to share one thing that's made them smile this week? So we can start off with you if you like, Kadish.
I was thinking about this. It just happened. So I'm at my mum's at the moment, who you know, Kadish Morris, and I went to shower and I came upstairs and there was breakfast on my bed. And I thought, yeah, very nice, very nice. So it's nice after being in London, living alone, to now coming kind of home and being able to sort of spend time with my mum. You get those perks. So that made me smile.
Oh, I love that. Lovely. How about you, Aziza?
Yeah, mine's quite similar too. I hadn't met a friend of mine in a very long time. I'd say for about a year. So I managed to meet her today, and it was very lovely to catch up with her.
Oh, lovely. Probably for me, this week I found out that someone very close to me is going to be having a baby. She's pregnant, so I'm really, really excited. I can't wait to tell everybody who it is, but at the minute I'm just trying to keep calm.
That's beautiful news.
Thank you. Well, we'll get into the questions then. If you would like to start, Aziza.
So my first question to you, Kadish, is, first of all, it's my pleasure to be interviewing you. And my question to you is, could you tell us how you got into journalism and what's the best thing about your job?
Sure. So I studied at university quite a while ago. So 2008, I went to university, went to London College of Communication, and I studied magazine publishing with creative writing. So it's quite a niche specific degree, but I was really interested in working in magazines from 18. And that was basically my entry into journalism. Or at least it gave me a foundation of understanding what publishing, specifically magazine publishing, would entail. And then kind of since graduating, I just basically tried to get bylines in every method. So that was sometimes working for free, which I don't necessarily think is the best. Wrote articles, I submitted stuff I pitched, and then kind of slowly over a long period of time, I was able to get the experience and eventually kind of landed an editor job for a newspaper. So that's kind of like the short story. And what I enjoy most about what I do, I really enjoy kind of seeing a story come together from an idea. So it might be something that is really interesting happening, let's say in the art world, or something really interesting happening in music, because what I commission is kind of around art, the arts industries, and being able to give a narrative to that, or give kind of a voice to a scene or an artist that perhaps may not have had that press coverage. So that's kind of what I enjoy most about my job. I've just interviewed a young artist that's going to be in this Sunday's paper, and she's doing quite well for herself, but this profile will be quite a big deal to be in a national newspaper. And so I feel really proud to be able to work on stories like that and be a part of somebody's kind of journey. And I think just telling stories, you know, I'm a writer, so I really enjoy just the opportunity to tell stories.
Yeah, I do agree. Yeah, it does. Yeah, it's amazing how as journalists you can basically amplify people's voices. If not, you can't give their voice, but at least you can amplify their voices. Yeah, it's amazing. And my next question is, so when you were younger, growing up in Leeds, did you know what you wanted to do? Did you always know that you wanted to get into journalism? Or?
When I was younger, I thought I wanted to be a lawyer, and that's only because, you know, you don't really often get told in schools anyway that kind of pursuing the creative industries is an option. And so I kind of thought I had to do something really kind of professional, and lawyer just seemed, I like to, you know, being a writer, I like to debate. I like to put my point across. So it kind of made sense to go into something like law, but then I kind of realized actually it's not that fun. Maybe it is, but I think for me, I wanted to write, and I got into poetry really young and really early. And then I thought, okay, what other ways can I explore writing? And my mum, being a creative person herself, she has always encouraged me into pursuing the arts. And so, yeah, I think when I was really young, I kind of felt I needed to do something really, I guess, like being an accountant or a lawyer or that type of thing. And then maybe around sixth form age, I kind of decided actually journalism and being an editor was important to me, because I really, even back then, and that was what, 2006, I recognized a lack of diverse voices in publishing. It was even worse back then, obviously. And so I felt this conviction to go into this industry and to be able to be a person to speak up for working class people, for Black women, for people from the North, stuff like that. I was really passionate about that, and so it took a while, but I think that it's been a long kind of invested journey. I wanted to do it since kind of teen.
That sounds amazing. Yeah, thank you for the representing the Black community. It's amazing. My next question is, what would you say to a young woman trying to break into the industry? For example, myself, I study journalism. I'm in my final year. What would you recommend for us journalist students?
Well, my first question to you actually would be, is there a specific kind of area of journalism that you're interested in?
Yeah, I'm very much interested in broadcasting. I've done Newsdays in uni, and I absolutely enjoyed that. I also like reporting, so that's something I'm looking into to further my career in journalism.
I would say that's good. It's good that you know that. I think working in journalism is such a broad industry, and so finding your speciality is really important. And the sooner you can find that, I think it's fine to test and to try out different things, but the sooner you find the thing that you click with, whether it is in the arts, whether it's reporting, whether it's news journalism, political journalism, whatever you feel the most passionate about, just kind of pursue that and get as much experience as you can, and do it on your own accord. Before I was able to kind of get kind of credible full-time jobs in kind of newspapers and magazines, I was doing my own projects. So I was really passionate about the arts, and I was really passionate about stories, like I was saying earlier. And so I made my own platform and interviewed women across the creative industries and shot them in their studios and shot them in their in their places of work. And so I kind of gave myself my own experience, if that makes sense. I was able to really know what I liked by doing it myself and not waiting for an employer to assign it to me. And so I would say that was my kind of break into the industry, is just taking my own initiative and starting my own projects. And if you're interested in reporting, then find ways to report, ways to publish those stories that you're interested in telling. Find interesting stories. I think there is such a lack of representation in the North, and I think that anybody who makes it their goal to try and tell stories from this end of the country can definitely go far. I think that's where there's a gap in the market for sure. So that would be my advice specifically to you, would be to report, just to whether it's starting a blog, anything like that, and then use those experiences and those stories to then kind of approach newspapers and magazines and publishers.
Yeah, thank you for the advice. Yeah, I do agree. Yeah, it is kind of a challenge to break into this industry, but thank you for the advice.
No problem.
I would love to ask, do you think that there is equality in your industry at the minute? And if not, is there anything in particular that could change?
There's not equality. There's not. And I think that it's becoming the difference. It's a fact, but the difference now is that there's an internal awareness now, whereas before it was just from readers or from people, from marginalized people being aware that I don't see myself represented in this paper or in this magazine or in this publisher in journalism. And I think now these industries are aware of it themselves, and they're taking kinds of steps that they need to become more diverse. It's a very long game, because it starts from university. Really, it starts from making people feel as if it is a credible and lucrative industry to get into. So if it's not paying well, for example, people from working class backgrounds and marginalized backgrounds who may not have the financial resources to take a risk and go into something like journalism are not going to study at university level. And so it's about making the industry really healthy and desirable to people from Black and Asian backgrounds, and to women, and to working class people. So I think that it's not diverse. My experience pretty much across journalism has been, whether I'm the only Black person there, definitely the only Black woman there, and I think that it's not something that I'm happy with, being the only Black person in a space. I think that for me it's about legacy. So whether I completely change what I want to do personally, I'd like to think that the industry isn't relying on these tokens, and actually has a sustainable way of bringing in diverse voices and retaining them is the most important thing, and making sure that they don't lose them. So I'd say there's a lot to be done, but perhaps this year signal some change. Totally. Anyway.
I'd love to see some change. I definitely agree with you. Just keeping on the topic as well, Black History and Black History Month, and being Black has been quite big in the media recently. Do you think there are any ways that we could sort of keep the story going and keep this sort of momentum in order to help telling our stories in schools, in the media, and just sort of continue raising this awareness?
I think it's just about understanding that kind of Black people in this country have such a history and such a cultural significance. We contribute so much to the cultural landscape and to the economy and to just British culture. Like Black people worldwide contribute to mainstream culture and popular culture. And so I think the more we acknowledge that, the more we acknowledge the pioneers and kind of the adversity that we face but have overcome, I think that there's no reason why Black content should be restricted to Black History Month, or to an unfortunate an unfortunate event such as the George Floyd killing. I think that it's important to tell these stories year on year, and to get more details and more research, and to get more voices. So I think it comes down to people like me being an editor, and the kinds of stories that I commission, and what my colleagues commission, and what people in other places commission. I think that it's our responsibility, and it's also readers' responsibility to an extent. Which things are you clicking on? Which things are you engaging with? I think that the market responds to kind of the consumer in a way, and so if a certain type of content is getting a lot of attention, then that's what publishers will publish. But if they're kind of publishing positive stories, or publishing stories that are untold and they're getting the attention that they need, they're getting the readers, then at least it's an encouragement to keep publishing and pushing those stories. And so I think that sadly in this kind of capitalist world, it sometimes does come down to clicks. So I think that where we can spend our time and money is important, but I think ultimately it's the industry's job to make sure that we have the representation that we need, for sure. And I think that
totally agree.
I'd like to ask, so you won a national award for your poetry. Could you tell us how you felt? Were you excited? How did you feel
when I won the prize? I cried. Yeah, I cried. I called my mom. This is maybe May. I called her and I was like in tears, and she was like, "What is it?" She thought I got corona or something, because I was just in tears. Yeah, I was really emotional, because you have these things in life that you think, I want that so bad, and that was the one thing I'd had probably since I was 24. And it's kind of an prize that you can only win up until you're 30. So I just turned 30, and I had one chance to basically win it. And so, yeah, I was just absolutely euphoric. I think I probably never felt that type of euphoria before. And not because I think winning prizes is something that's so important to the credibility of somebody's talent or work, but I think it was just in a kind of a really crazy year and a really dark time. It was just the kind of encouragement I needed, because I've been doing so well in journalism, but poetry is something that I'd struggled with, because it's it's just a different world. It's a different world, and I think that I wouldn't say I'd given up at all. I'd always written, but I was I became quite nervous and insecure about my poetry, and wasn't sure if I was any good. And so when I'd won the prize, it was just kind of affirmation about that I should keep going, that I shouldn't stop, because similarly there's a lack of diversity in poetry as well. And so I think it's important to never give up. So even where I tell people never give up, I got to kind of tell it to myself as well. So yeah, I was really happy.
Yeah, definitely. No, that's amazing. So what are your hopes for the future? What do you want to do in the future? What would you like to do?
What would I like to do? I want to continue publishing, and a dream of mine, having studied magazine publishing, would be to publish my own publication, for sure. I think I've got the experience and the knowledge and stuff. It would obviously be very small scale, so that would be something I've always wanted to do, and I still want to do, and to be able to tell the stories that I feel like are not getting told. And I think that it would just be really fun to do. So that's probably a goal of mine, and also to work towards a book, whether that's a book of poetry, a book of essays. I think that that's probably what I dream of, but I don't know how far away I am from that, so we'll see.
That's amazing. I love how you're so competent and you're thriving and trying new stuff and representing again the Black community. It's
Thank
amazing.
you very much. I appreciate that.
Yeah.
One question I have for you is, how have you found work and just life in general since the breakout of the pandemic? Has there been anything that's been particularly difficult for you in the last sort of 6 months, maybe?
Yeah, it's been difficult. Kind of like I was saying to you before we sort of started recording, is that I've somehow miraculously managed to maintain calmness, and I think that's got me through, because there's some weeks where in my job where it's we print every Thursday, and so it can be quite intense if something doesn't go to plan in the time scale that we need it to. But just knowing that no matter what, everything will be fine has just kind of kept me through. So yeah, I think it has been challenging, and because I work on art content, and we've obviously museums been closed and theatres been closed, there has been a real difficulty in being able to pin down content, because things will get pushed forward or will get cancelled. So yeah, that's probably been the kind of the biggest change in my job, because before I was here at this paper, I was working for an art magazine, and post pre-pandemic, and it was very different. I was getting to travel quite a lot and go to exhibitions, and and that was fun. And so the kind of opposite now is just being stuck in my bedroom. So it's kind of a culture shock as well, as much as it is for everybody. But I think that ultimately, I'm probably, however had I found my job, I'm a lot more privileged than people who've lost their job or been furloughed. And so whenever I am stressed, I just think it's not too bad. I could be unemployed. I could have lost my job, or it could be the way this government are not looking after anybody at the moment. And so I think it's a good kind of pressure to be under. So I count my blessings for sure.
Yeah. Oh, that's lovely. Lovely to hear that we're still trying to keep positive. I think that's it's a really important message, especially now more than ever, for everybody to try and keep positive, and just do our best to keep going.
Yeah, completely. We made it through this far. We thought it was going to be 2 weeks in this. So we've definitely got more resilient than we probably thought we were in February, March. So I think that sadly this thing's going to continue, but I just hope everybody's mental health and just general health is just is okay. I guess that's the main priority.
Yeah. And who would you say inspires you? If you could choose one person, anyone in the world, who inspires you?
My mom. Yeah, if it's one in the world, yeah, she's just, I know that's really quite cliche. My mom inspires me, but she really does. She's phenomenal. I'm obsessed with her because I just find her so interesting. But tell me this story about this thing that happened when you were younger, or tell me how you did this. I just find her life so intriguing and interesting, and she's so supportive of everything I do. She's my biggest champion, and I'm her biggest fan as well, and so she's definitely the person that inspires me the most. I can talk to her about anything. I can rant to her about something that's happening, with an article that I might be writing that I might be struggling with, and she will be like, "Why don't you think about it like this? Or why don't you try this?" So yeah, she's my biggest supporter and definitely a big inspiration for me.
Perfect. I love that. I absolutely love that.
That's amazing.
Just to end, I would like to ask one final question, just a nice light-hearted one. If you could choose any song to be the soundtrack of your life so far, what would it be?
What song would it be? I don't know. Okay, I listen to a lot of King Cruel. He's one of my favorite artists, and he's got a song called Laloon, and it's just got really beautiful guitar chords and really kind of beautiful messaging. And like in the end, in the last, he says something like, "To be with you, such a view, to be elevated to you." And I love poetry, obviously, so I find it really poetic. And it's a song that I think makes me feel quite euphoric, and which has been the vibe of this year for me. So yeah, I think that. But yeah, I probably played that song.
Perfect. Well, thank you so much for answering all our questions, and thank you for taking the time out of your day. I know it must be so busy, but it's been a real pleasure to interview you and just to have a nice chat. And it's been great. Thank you very much. Some really important messages there about being yourself and being positive. So thank you.
Thank you so much for interviewing me, and I really appreciate it. And well done with everything you're doing with Getaway Girls. I think it's such an amazing project. And if you ever want to invite me back, I'll be happy to.
Oh, thank you. Thank you everyone for watching. It's been nice to have you all. Don't forget to like, subscribe, follow us on our Instagram, Facebook, all our social media. Find us online. Quick Google search, anything you like. Thank you very much. See you later. Bye.